Hey guys, Sarah and Bryony here from Work Life Glue, here for another Daycare Day video on our channel where we talk about gluing work and life together one piece at a time, and one piece of our life is daycare. I am a daycare provider in my home. So today we're going to be talking about a daycare related topic, and if you're not a provider, it might still be an interesting topic to you. So I'm on a lot of Facebook groups for daycare and for moms. And I saw a really interesting thread pop up on a mom Facebook group where a mom had asked a question and wanted others to chime in, and it was a daycare related question. And so I thought I'd kind of talk to you guys about it and see what your thoughts are. And it's all about what our job is and what our role is as a childcare provider. And I think that answer really depends on you and your program and that kind of thing, but I just wanted to get your input because I thought it was a really interesting question that it raised. So basically there was a mom of a 4-month-old who has her daughter or child in daycare, and the child, I guess, would normally sleep at home for 35 minutes for naps, and that's like the longest nap the child would take, which, side note, seems really short, but whatever. You know, parents know their kids, and so that's how long they would sleep. And so when the provider would send home like the daily rundown of the day, it would say that the child took like a 35-minute nap in the morning, but then the nap in the afternoon was like 2 hours from 1 to 3. And so the parent was concerned that the provider is setting the baby down to cry it out during the normal nap time when the other kids are sleeping. And the mom said, you know, she understands that providers need a break, but she doesn't know like what's the line and how to talk to the provider about it and whatnot. I'm not going to get into all of that, but I was reading the comments and it was really interesting because there were some other moms who were saying, you know, you need to just quit. That's not okay if she's letting your baby cry it out. And somebody said, you know, that's not her job as a provider to sleep train the baby. And granted, we don't even know if that's what was happening, but that was what somebody had commented. And then there were some providers on there as well saying, you know, babies are often more stimulated at daycare because there's all these other kids, there's learning. It's, you know, a lot more stimulating than just being at home, being the only kid there. And so they will often sleep a couple hours in the afternoon, even though they're not normally doing that at home, just because there's so much more stimulation, which I totally agree with. I even, from my own experience with my daughter, this one hasn't been to daycare quite yet. I'm on my maternity leave, but my 2-year-old, once I started daycare, she dropped her morning nap, but then took a super long afternoon nap every day, and she's still my kid who sleeps the longest for nap time because she gets stimulated from all her friends, and it's exhausting. So we don't really know, you know, what the provider was doing, but it raised a really interesting question of what is our job as providers? Is our job to sleep train children? Is our job, you know, if you take that a step further, to, you know, help kids become good citizens, to teach them manners, to teach them respect, to help them deal with emotions? I think if a parent were to say it's not a provider's job to sleep train, well, where do we draw the line then? Is it our job to help them choose to eat vegetables? Is it our job to teach them to be respectful to adults? Or is it just our job to keep them alive, you know, and entertained throughout the day? I just think it raised a really good question. I'm going to give my 2 cents on this. I think as a parent, enrolling your child in a daycare, it's important to make sure that the provider is on the same like value system as you. So if you are more of like an attachment style parent where you don't want any cry it out, you know, you might co-sleep, that kind of thing, there's nothing wrong. I'm not making a judgment statement, but you want to make sure your provider supports that, because if they don't, you're often gonna not see eye to eye. And if you are a more strict parent, you probably, or you know, not, I don't want to say strict, but if you're a more, you know, you're okay with cry it out, you want your kid on more of a structure, be able to self-soothe, and you follow that method of thinking, you know, you're gonna want a provider who falls in line. So if you aren't okay with cry it out and you want your kid up whenever they're up and you don't want them to learn to self-soothe at daycare, at least not in that way, then you need to make sure that your daycare is in line with that. That's just my first 2 cents. But my 2 cents for my program is I truly feel like I am an extension of my daycare kids' families. And I want families who have the same kind of, you know, discipline style and value system as I do. I am very strict about sleep in my daycare. Now, would I let a baby scream and cry for 2 hours? No. But I personally would be trying to get them on the same routine. I would go in every 5 minutes, touch the baby, say it's okay. If they're screaming uncontrollably, I'm not going to leave the baby there, but I am going to try to get the kid on the schedule, because as a provider, I'm going to burn out if I never get any kind of break and I have kids sleeping, because if one kid gets to sleep whenever they want, then all kids should get to sleep however they want. That's just my 2 cents. And I feel it's my duty as a provider in my program to teach kids manners and to help them, you know, self-soothe. So if they're disrespectful to me and they're 3 years old and they throw something at their friend, they are going to take a break. And if they're screaming, they're going to take a break until they calm down. I'm not going to just say, well, come back and join the group and not have any kind of follow through, because in my opinion, that's not setting them up for success in the real world. And that's a very quick way of saying, like, I don't just let kids scream all day, but like, I want them to learn to self-soothe and what respect is and how to treat people and things like that. And I truly, she's pooping. I truly feel like I have that responsibility as a provider. So when I was reading that thread, I was just like, I kind of do think it's our job as providers to sleep train to some extent, because if you think about it, a lot of, at least my daycare kids are with me 45 to 50 hours a week. And so if I'm not the one training them in some of these areas, who is? Because a lot of parents, you know, are busy on the weekends and they have fun stuff to do with their kids and they're trying to get quality time. And so they don't have 5 days a week during nap to sleep train. They have 2 days, and a lot of those days they might not even nap because they're trying to get quality time with their kid, which I totally understand. So I kind of think it is our job. Do I think a provider should just let a baby cry for hours? No, but I think that's a conversation parents and providers need to have of what is the right way. I know of a lot of providers who have babies come that will not sleep and they are dead tired, and it's kind of like, well, what do we do as providers when we have 8, 9 other kids who need us, and now we have one baby who's just crying and crying because they haven't been trained to sleep on their own. It's just impossible for us to rock that baby for 2 hours every day. And truthfully, from a Minnesota licensing perspective, we are not allowed to let babies sleep in our arms. As soon as they fall asleep, we need to lay them down. That's the rule. So it gets very tricky, and so that's why I wanted to just bring it up and see what you guys think. What do you think our job is as providers? Do you think it is our job to sleep train, and how do you guys go about it? And if you take a step further, what other responsibilities do you think we have? And I think this really does depend on the provider and their contract and their policies, but I think as a society, there must be some consensus about it that I'm just not seeing, because if parents just think it's not our job to sleep train, I wonder how many parents think that. And it just makes me really wonder, is that our job or is it not? And where do we draw the line with that? So I'd love to know your guys' opinion on this. If you've run into any other like conversations in the news or online about something like this, or just something that really makes you go, I'd like to talk about that, send it to me at sarah@worklifeblue.com. The email's down below, and I would love to make a separate video on it. I just think these conversations are really important. And especially, you know, in our area, we have a huge shortage, and I think the more we can talk about daycare, its struggles, the definition struggles, and what our job actually is, all that kind of stuff, I think the more we can be open about stuff like this, the more people will understand, and maybe the more support we will have, hopefully. Who knows, but girl can try, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye, guys.